fixing the mic audio. Okay, now I'm back. I'll just have to tune the audio a little bit more because it will be slightly loud at first because my mic keeps resetting every time I reboot my PC. I don't know why it wants to do that. Alright. Gonna get the game back now because I got the audio back where it should be. And so, yeah, apparently, trying to change the monitor setting, it doesn't like it. It really does not like that. But I really wanted to change it to see, because I had HDR on temporarily. I want to turn it back off to see what I think. Does that look any better? That looks exactly the same in terms of the stuttering, but I think these colors make a lot more fucking sense. Because it was almost like everything was whitewashed. Like, basically the default mode's better than the HDR, because I don't think that this is not a real HDR monitor, so that's why it doesn't look very good in HDR. It's like fake HDR. So it basically just looked like everything was way too bright, and there was no like extra depth or anything from anything, so it's not very good. So, oh yeah. No, I got rid of the horrible things really quick. This is definitely a lot darker. See, this has more contrast even than what I was doing before. This is even better than that was. So maybe something like these settings. For just visibility improvements. Where's the target I was like? Did you get him? I think he got him. Alright, so because the stream's gonna be in 2 parts now, because I broke it, I'm not sure what I want to do later on. I have a feeling I'm just gonna only do the larger part and not bother with the first one. Probably. It's always has to be so dicey all the time. Not that other games don't surprise me with missile behavior. Where I get hit by missiles, I'm just like, how? I do think it is better frames with the FreeSync off. I think the frame delivery is actually better. So I need to see any other games what I think about that. Because I have no idea how they're gonna stack up. Yeah, I hear you, Spoonie. So I'll have to take care of the cats in about, like, I don't know, 30 minutes-ish. There's so many the AI have swarmed us. And plasma also continues to be a strange weapon. Just like it should. Yeah, this does feel better. A little bit. I don't think it makes a huge difference, though. It's probably not gonna help in any way. So then I need to think about other things, like ambient lighting and whatnot. Do I have too much or too little light? Is it probably on too little light, if anything. So much easier with the old G's. Like, this is so much hardlier. It's obnoxious. I think I need to look up more stuff in PlanetSide 2 as well. Just because I've been deciding to play it for a little bit. And mostly I wanted to play more aircraft, but I wasn't enjoying it, like, at all with the aircraft, even though I, like, retained like 60% of like whatever skill I did have, because I was never ever good in PlanetSide 2 at any point, but I was competent at it. And I think I've hit like 60% of like any skill I had in aircraft, but when I played it, like, I was just not liking it at all. Just the flying, it's like, oh man, I don't like it. Like, it just made me think, is like, man, I would like way sooner want to like commit the helicopters in a Battlefield 2042 or something. I was like, my immediate thought is like, I shouldn't waste my time with this, but I don't know, it might change my opinion again, because I was thinking, it's like, oh, how about I just use a main battle tank for a little bit. That's where all the nans will go when I'm not infantry. And it was pretty decent. I just have the issue of like, if you don't have a gunner or teammates who care, a single man can flank you, you'll never see him, and he'll kill you with his C4 and whatnot. Although C4 does not instantly kill you in PlanetSide 2. But they can still, like, if it's a light assault, they can still volley after the C4 and get you that way. Unless you're in a Vanguard, which is like probably the best thing about the Vanguard, is I think the Vanguard's the only tank that doesn't need C4 armor to survive ambushes by a light assault if they just flank behind and attack you. And I just always find it so lame when you get snuck attacked by infantry and you have like no ability to react it. It's like the only counter to that is if you foresee it. It's like, well, that's really lame because I want to react to stuff going wrong, but the stuff going wrong usually cripples you really badly or just kills you instantly. So that there is no reacting to something going wrong. If it goes wrong, you die, and there's no reacting to it. There's no panicking at all. You just die. It's like you just have to foresee absolutely everything. It's like you don't get stuck in bad situations, which is like, to me, that's the main point of like being in a vehicle, is you should get into bad situations, but it doesn't really happen. What usually happens is you're in a good situation, and then within 1 second you're screwed. You go from being full health to no health in like no time at all. To me, it's like, well, then what's the point of being in a vehicle then? If it's like the same as infantry, where you're alive and dead in like a really small period of time. It's like you might as well not have vehicles at all, because they're not serving the purpose. And that's why a lot of vehicles just end up like, you know, sniping the whole time. But I do want to see, I think you could get a proximity detection on Tankos instead of having C4 damage reduction, plus like it also reduces damage against a few other explosive sources like air-to-ground warheads, which is nice, and it also reduces damage from infantry-borne rocket launchers a little bit, which is also nice. But I want to see how that proximity detection works, because I think I might like that even more than any of those. Which means I might just make a new character, because I kind of like screwed up spending all the certifications for that character. I screwed up pretty bad. So if I made a new character, that would probably be more efficient. Just deleting that one, making a new one. Yeah. I know what you want, Spoonie, and you're not getting it for at least 15 more minutes. Yeah, I know. I don't know if my mic will pick up Spoonie when I have it this low for sensitivity, but it might, because his meows are so high pitch that it usually picks it up. Because the mic doesn't even think it's background noise. It's like it's in the right frequency to get picked up. So who knows about that? Yeah, so I think I like this contrast more. So because I was running at like minimum brightness, and I think that was interfering with my ability to like see. So, and I consider seeing to be very important. More important than anything. I mean, I'd say the biggest thing. Let's just like pull a bunch of G's real quick. So. Is there a way to do it more slowly? Well, there's not, because we've exhausted the axis now, but... So... I think now... around this level of G blackout is a reasonable amount of visibility where I should still be able to fight, and I don't think that was the case before. I think like as soon as I got to... I think maybe around this level of G, this is probably the limit of what I consider reasonable. Now I can go to about here and still think that's reasonable for being able to like function. That's what I think now. And the red's also not as bad either. So I'd just be getting more accurate again, but I don't think I care enough to like practice aiming all the time. Because I'm not caring in other games right now. I'm basically across the board for any game I play, my level of caring on being skilled at it is like at an all-time low. For whatever reason. It's like, this is the least I've ever cared in my entire life about, like, skill. In terms of my own skill. I feel like I've just been looking for games that are like, you know, very easy, where you can just do something that's easy. That I also find, like, you know, reasonably entertaining as well. Because I think the biggest example of me getting irritated was probably just playing Robocraft, where if it gets really, really high stakes of, like, small player pools, just the amount of frustration I'd get just means it's like, I am really not in the mood to, like, do anything that requires me to become any better than what I am right now. So I think currently I'm looking for something that I can be good at without requiring me to improve in any way. Because for whatever reason, it is very against any level of getting better at anything at the moment. Alright, there we go. So, I'm gonna do a little bit of racing just to take a look at if I think this is easier or harder than it was. Because there's no way I'll ever beat a record that I don't think it's possible for me. It's like, I would have to put so much more time into it to, like, have a chance on beating, like, any record, but I just want to run through to see what I think about the colors, because it's definitely brighter. Definitely way worse at it than I was probably a week ago. It's going a lot slower than I remember. The only reason I'm not crashing is just because... Oh, I know what's going on. It's not... Might not even be my fault. I forgot to put on the heatsink. Okay, so... There we are. That lap probably wasn't even my fault for why I felt like it was doing well. It might have been just because I forgot to put the heatsink. Because I was wondering why am I overheating so much, because I don't remember it being that harsh. Oh, yeah, so that's faster. That's way faster than before, so... Yeah, that was what the problem was. Wasn't even my fault. It was entirely on that. Oh, almost hit that, but not quite. So maybe I can be a little bit more precise than I was before, due to the improved. Even though I can tell I'm not in a good mental state to do racing, just because I can just tell if I'm in a good mental state for it, because I can either everything looks really fast, the movement looks really fast, or it looks like slower than normal, and I know if it looks slower than normal, I just happen to be in a better mental state for doing it. I'm just gonna continue to lap just because I want to, like, run through it. But I can tell if I boot up racing if I'll be able to play it for like an hour at like being more skillful with it or having more of a struggle with it. I don't think I executed that super well, but I did try something new. We tried something new and we got punished for it, so that's fine. That's what usually happens to me when I try something new. Get horrifically punished. But yeah, but this is right now I'm like, oh, the course feels like it's going by really, really, really fast, which means, oh, I'm not very focused at all. Which means that there's no way I'll perform any better than I have like in the past, just because I usually will only commit to racing if I feel like I'm in a good mental state for it. I should actually restart because of the health issue. Oh, I just happened to wasn't quite fast enough there. Yeah, so I think this is better for racing too. Not just like making fighting feel a little bit easier, just to help cut down on just the game feeling harder and whatnot and more frustrating. It's like, well, what's other things you can do besides changing game mechanics? Because I know changing game mechanics would do the same. But like, is there anything else I've been overlooking about my setup that's making things feel harder than they should be? And I think a big part, it's like, well, I like running my monitor on the lowest brightness level it possibly can because of eye strain reasons. Because I feel like my eyes get very irritated really quickly because I spend a lot of time on the computer. So to compensate, I like running the brightness really low to help deal with that. But I thinking that I should just commit more to taking more breaks from looking at the screen and then running the brightness at a reasonable level instead, because I think that's interfering with my perception, because everything's so dark all the time. I don't think it's I think the long-term effects of it are pretty bad. And I think the ideal scenario is you run your monitor at a reasonable level of brightness, so like medium level of brightness instead of bare minimum. And if I feel eye strain, it's like, well, that means taking a break maybe instead of just playing anyway when you're feeling like, you know, irritated from playing it. It's like, it's a good sign that you should not be playing it. Oh, wow, that's the only time I ever cut this corner too well. That is the first for me. I've never had that issue in my entire life. So whatever new thing I did there certainly works. 'Cause I have never had that problem before. I've always never done it enough. Little bump. Yeah, so now we end up with like a much better lap, but there's a lot of time that would need to get shaved off for any recordism, right? And yeah, and the problem is I don't know where that time's gonna come from that would get shaved off. It would, I just don't know. I think I know where 7 seconds can come off because I did that before, so I would just have to copy the exact same thing I did last time, and that would do it. But yeah, but what it feels like right now in racing, it feels like I'm not doing on like as good as I could do it, but I feel like I'm not making silly mistakes as much as I would used to. So my overall performance feels like it's worse but more consistent, because I feel like I'm probably going to do another like completed lap. It's just not going to be particularly fast. It's just going to be like compared to like the laps that I'd had the potential to do, it's just not as good. Also feel like if I do make a mistake like there, I feel like I have a way better chance of actually recovering from it, instead of it basically completely guaranteeing that there's no salvageability at all left in the Traco. I mean, part of it might be me rambling the whole time, but yeah. Not too bothered by that. think what I did. Did we preserve any speed? Nah, I'm not sure it's worth it then. Because the whole idea is I want to preserve speed through that corner. That's the whole concept. To make it go through faster is to keep, like, because I got up to 900, so I'd want to, like, that's the only way I can think to make the lap faster, is to preserve more speed. And then doing this last part better, that's also, like, an area where I think there's good potential. Yeah, so pretty much better lap. So I shaved off, like, those 5 seconds from, like, various mistakes. So I think, but as for getting another 6 off, it's like, the only thing I think it's this very subtle speed increases from going above 700 meters a second more consistently. I think that's what that is gonna come from. Yeah, so a lot slower through here. Yeah, but this is a lot less frustrating too. Like, this is more enjoyable where it's like, I'm just content doing this over and over. It's definitely more fun when you're not trying as hard as you can to get a better lap time. You're just going through the course at a decent skill level. It's like, it's definitely feels much less frustrating than me doing racing before, which is where I felt like I was trying as hard as I can to get, like, a better lap time. Anytime I would ever do racing, I could never do it casually. It has to be a nightmare in terms of, like, you know, require me to put effort into it. I don't know if I preserved any speed through that. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I don't know if it would have been. I don't even know if I'll bother to rewatch the footage to see if it was above 700 that I had out of there. Because then that's a good sign that, okay, that's where executing that is where I should focus it on. Let's see. I almost recovered that correctly. I'd love to, like, do this corner. This corner always feels, like, super awkward to do. Not that, though, but, it's fine. That's a recoverable crash. Okay, I should just restart because of the hull damage. And I think this is the last lap I'll do, and then I would have maybe streamed for an hour total? Hit that hour. Although it's a good sign that this is feeling less frustrating, because whenever I get more frustrated by a specific game, that's where I commit to playing it for a smaller amount of time. So that's why a lot of the Wednesday streams, I'd make sure, oh, that was a little silly, but I'd make sure that I would play it for around about an hour exactly. And then on Sunday, I'm not trying to, like, make it only an hour. Usually on Sunday, there'll be the one time I'll be working really close, so I want to make sure that either I'm not late for work or I have, like, a grace period where I can either eat something or watch something on TV or YouTube before I leave to work, so that I'm not as hyperactive, or not as high-strung. Hyperactive is wrong word. Just not as high-strung. That's a major thing, I would say. I don't want to be super high-strung when I go into work. Especially if it ends up being a particularly busy day. Because then I'll make a lot more mistakes at work. If it's, like, particularly busy and I'm already, like, you know, high-strung and tensed. I'll work, like, basically I'll end up working faster but make more mistakes, which isn't what I want, because there's no reason for me to go particularly fast at work. Yeah, so I'm noticing I'm playing like the laps a lot safer, but that's just what I feel like doing right now. Subconsciously, it's like I don't feel like doing the race like as fast as possible and doing in consecutive things that have a high risk of like wiping you out. I'm having a way better time with perception though. This is probably the easiest it's ever feel to like figure out my position in a 3D space. Alright, let's take a look at that clock. Oh, I'm way off. 12 more minutes, alright. Well, I kind of want to play more anyway. I just get distracted by other games like PlanetSide 2. Because it's just on my mind because I was thinking I was at the point where I'm going to look some other thing about the game in terms of one of the implants. Because I want to see, is there an implant that proximity detects infantry? And is there... Did main battle tanks have the ability to take the detection perk? Where you can detect infantry when they get nearby? Like within, it's like only 20 meters or so, which is enough. It's enough to stop C4ing from absolutely surprising you out of nowhere. It's like it gives you a chance to actually see someone attempting to C4 you, and then you actually like killing him before he kills you, which I like a lot more when that happens versus I just get C5'd out of nowhere. Well, C4, because C5 is like Battlefield 2040. That's why PlanetSide's a lot better, because PlanetSide actually, like, there's options you can do to mitigate C4 in that game. Whereas in Battlefield 2042, it's like there's nothing you can do. The only way you're ever going to stop someone from C4ing you is if you foresee him completely in the first place. Or if one of your gunners see him in the first... And well, I mean, in Battlefield 2042, just because one of your gunners sees a C4 user in the first place does not mean that you're going to get saved. Because it's a lot harder in Battlefield 2042 for gunners to kill infantry than it is for them to do it in PlanetSide 2. And likewise for the vehicle driver. In PlanetSide 2, it's a lot easier for the vehicle driver to kill the infantry himself compared to 2042 as well. The only exception is I think the main battle tank is better at killing infantry in 2042, but any other land vehicle in the entire game is worse. And even then, there's cases in PlanetSide 2 where the land vehicles are better at killing infantry than the best case scenario in 2042, which is if you put Hesh on, because then you don't even care about direct hits. You're just trying to splash as many infantry as you possibly can. That's like the whole point. I mean, getting direct hits is nice though, because if you get a direct hit, that's a one-hit kill. But the point is like you want to be doing splash damage on like groups of infantry and hitting groups of like at least 2 shells, because then if you do that, you might get like 3 to 4 kills every 2 shots. So while those direct hits are nice and all, it's really just farming up that splash damage is what's healthy for you. I have no idea what I'm doing in terms of the racing, but it ended up in a pretty decent lap, so... yeah, not the fastest one I did today. Alright, this is the last lap I'm gonna commit to, then I wanna shoot at more AI. That's what I'd want to do. I can feel it in me bones. So what's like the other... there's something else I was thinking about, so... yeah, but that was like the 2 options I have in like PlanetSide 2. It's like, okay, I'm tired of infantry getting a free pass to sneak up on me if I don't want to be on constant overwatch and spinning my turret like a freaking idiot, or constantly switching back and forth from third-person view to first-person view, and that won't necessarily solve the issue. Because the third-person view will help, but in Halo has like the best third-person camera you can possibly get for a tank, as well as you have constant short-range radar on infantry within 25 meters in Halo, and even then, they will still sneak up on you in Halo. It's not a big problem in Halo if you get sucked up on it, because you don't die instantly from it. There's a few options you have every now and then to, like, get rid of someone who boards you in Halo. So it doesn't feel anywhere near as infuriating. Just because it doesn't instantly kill you. Like, you're doomed to die, but you don't instantly die from it. And with some of the vehicles, you have a few options for something you can do. Like, you can throw yourself off the map or something. If you're on, like, the right spot on the map. If someone just snuck up behind you and he boarded you. So it's not just, like, a dead-end scenario. I know the options are usually good. Like, the best-case scenario in Halo, if someone boards you, is you can shoot a wall to kill them with the splash damage and take your vehicle's health off by, like, half of whatever it is before. That's like the best-case scenario of, like, the options you would have in Halo. Alright. Oh, no, not that menu. We want this menu. As I said, I wanted to do, yeah, and went back to attrition. Okay. Do bounty hunt. Yes, I just wanted to shoot AI for a little bit. But that's there. Whereas in PlanetSide 2, I think my point in, like, Halo, it's like, even with the best possible third-person camera you could ever have with FOV customization, and just being able to see, like, the terrain and everything, you still get snuck up on. It still happens. And even with the addition of a short-range radar that's permanently enabled, you will still get snuck up on. So to me, it's like, so the point, so yeah, while switching to, like, third-person camera in between every shot would help, but it's not gonna solve that issue, and you're still gonna, someone could come up, like, completely behind and just C4 you, and then you don't even realize what's going on. I would say the only benefit is you'll see him putting the C4 on you, but at that point it's basically too late anyway. So the only realistic solutions is after every shot you need to spin your turret like a crazy person in a 360 and hope that you notice any movement. Or, and that's a problem, because if you're trying to do long-range firing, and it's very hard to center your shots, so it's very hard to get the range you need to be mortaring in shots, because you're using a tank turret that has very poor shell performance. So it's very hard to consistently hit shots, and to get the range you need in the first place, you need to tap fire a lot. And in between your shots, there's a little bit of recoil on the vehicle too, so it's good to, like, adjust to that. So because of that, it is extremely bad idea to be on constant overwatch looking behind you after every, like, volley for infantry, because you're gonna constantly be ruining shots you set up. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna spot people who are trying to flank you, but in the result, you're gonna be so ineffective as an actual vehicle that it's, like, it's worthless, essentially. So that's why I think that having a proximity detection and then committing more to, like, being an actual vehicle and doing what a vehicle should do, which is to focus on the bigger picture than the small detail of individual people flanking you every now and then, which it's like you should not be worried about that. Because if you're constantly worried about that, you're just going to be so ineffective to the team that you might as well just be in infantry at this point. Because then you don't need to worry about people flanking you, because the people in front of you have the ability to kill you really quickly. Anyway. as well as people who flank you. Any source is gonna, you're always gonna die quickly no matter where the damage comes from. Whereas in a vehicle, it's like you want to be focused on stuff in front because that's what you're effective against with your gun, and then with flanking, I think like just sacrificing something for proximity detection. I think that's just what you want. I think that will be the best scenario, because then you'll spot infantry before they're in range to throw C4, and then you can start moving with your vehicle and then actually engage them in a fair fight instead of an unfair fight where it's in their favor. Because now it's a fair fight, which is what you want, because if you're in a vehicle, fair fights are automatically in your favor anyway. So that's why I think that'd be the best. And if that means sacrificing one of the implants that are like ammo regeneration, which is useful, but I'm willing to sacrifice that if I can get a proximity detection. And then the other thing is sacrificing if there's like the implant, not the implant, the passive radar detection in the vehicle. That would be sacrificing C4 damage reduction, as well as like a little bit of extra damage resistance, which is helpful. Like rocket launcher resistance is like really good, especially if they want to use lock-on launchers. That's very helpful as like a damage reduction option to have, as well as the fact that it means C4 won't instantly kill you anymore, but C4 plus a volley or a rocket will still kill you. So you'll go from dying instantly to dying in about 2 seconds, which is not good enough to actually save yourself. If you get caught off guard, which is what's going to happen when someone sneaks up on you. Because I already figured out, is like, there is the plant site too, where you can auto-spot, you know, stuff like landmines. It's like, I need that, because I'm stupid and never see them, so I just need that personally. So, I believe that is now a complete healthy stream for Wednesday. So thank you for watching.